Since I've already discussed the etymology and definition of culture, let's now focus on the topic of popular culture, particularly on the problems of popular culture. Actually, much like defining culture, it is also difficult to fully grasp the idea of popular culture. But, as William defined it, the popular culture suggests four current meanings. It is well liked by many people. It is in the inferior kinds of work. It works deliberately on setting out to win the favor of the people. And lastly, the culture is actually made by the people for themselves. This suggests that popular culture is the complex combination of culture and popular. And in the context of Filipino culture, we actually have a lot of popular cultures in our history. For example, in the pre-colonial era, we have trading, tattoos, Islam, or indigenous deities as our popular culture. In the Spanish colonial era naman, we have Christianity, we have patriarchy and paternalism, we have the language of the Spanish people, and we have the nobility. And during the American era, we have the introduction of the English language, the modern pop culture, and clothing such as the Macintosh suits and the Edwardian style dresses. So ito yung mga popular culture na naranasan natin as Filipinos in our history. What's your take on that, committee members?
Yes, I agree, Madam Chair. It's really difficult to define popular culture because it has no definite meaning. There are multiple ways to define popular culture, Madam Chair. But one of the definitions given by Story is that popular culture is widely favored or well liked by many people. Ito po yung mga cultural products katulad ng fashion, music, TV shows, and video games na tinatangkilik ng nakararami. Since it is something well-known or a trend, it can influence or shape our perception. For instance, yung fashion trends like oversized outfits and crop tops. Yung ibang tao po dati hindi gusto yung mga ganyang outerwear. Pero dahil sikat, para sa kanila, kailangan na rin po nilang maki-join sa uso.
Does it mean that various social media platforms like TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube are considered popular culture?
Yes, Miss Iderso, dahil maraming gumagamit ng social media, so considered siya as popular culture.
But the problem is, how can we say that something is popular?
Your Honor, according to Story, it can be measured through a quantitative index, such as the sales of CDs, DVDs, and books, the number of attendees at concerts, events, or festivals, even audience ratings, and through market research. However, the use of numbers to define popular culture can tell us too much, and it would still be difficult to identify what is really popular. Unless we set a specific number or percentage of people who must like something, everything well known or well liked can be considered popular culture.
Yes, it is true that defining when something is popular is difficult. But the truth is, quantity matters in this type of culture. But then again, such things can be easily manipulated by the elites. Much like how the mass media was oppressed during the Marcos regime. The oppression resulted in shutting down of 7 television stations, 16 national daily newspapers, 11 weekly magazines, 16 community newspapers, and 292 radio stations. Due to this limited tampered information, this became the main source of news and popular issues, hence gaining much attention from the mass.
Baselina, since you've mentioned na yung popular culture is widely favored or well-liked by many people, why do you think popular culture is popular?
Thank you for that question, no, Miss Idersol. I believe that popular culture is popular because it is transmitted through mass media, such as television, mobile phones, and computers, and the majority of people have access to it.
It is said in this document that popular culture is the culture that is left over after we have decided what is high culture. What does it mean, Madam Chair?
In that document, John Story stated that popular culture is the culture that remains after determining what constitutes high culture. So, in exploring popular culture, we see it often compensates for what high culture lacks. The exclusivity of high culture creates a
I agree.
divide na tawag nating high and popular divide. In the Philippines, this divide is reflected in the term bakya, which, as Jose F. Lacaba describes, now signifies anything cheap, gauche, naive, and overly popular. In contrast naman is bourgeois, derived from the French word bourgeoisie, refers to the middle or upper classes. This distinction underscores the cultural hierarchies that shapes our perception and values.
Madam Chair, does it mean that it is a culture that is accessible and enjoyed by the common people and does not meet the standards of high culture? So, watching a blockbuster movie in a mainstream cinema instead of going to a theater play is considered popular culture po ba? Since it is accessible to common people?
Yes, exactly, Miss Helena. We can say that accessible activities are often viewed as low culture, while high culture naman caters to sophisticated people or the elites. So, to our respected members of the committee and the meeting participants, do you have any more questions? Okay, so I guess we can proceed to the third definition. So it states here that popular culture is as mass culture, a hopelessly commercial culture that is mass produced for mass consumption. Its audience is a mass of non discriminating consumers. The commercialization of culture is a fascinating topic that raises important questions about our identities. Actually, critics argues that mass culture isn't just a diluted version of something richer. It often feels like an imposed, impoverished culture that reflects an imported American sensibility. This concept, known as Americanization, highlights how American culture's global reach can overshadow local identities. It makes you wonder, no? Are we really celebrating diversity or simply consuming a marketplace of homogenized experiences?
Madam Chair, can I add something po?
Yeah, sure, go on.
In this theory po, it is also stated here that the audience is referred to as passive, meaning they mindlessly consume or accept what others do. However, based on Fiske's statement, it argues that 80% to 90% of newly launched items fail, even with its widespread promotional activities. This argument clearly states that people don't passively accept everything offered to them.
Yes, that's right. Thank you for pointing that out, Miss Elena. Simon Frith notes that around 80% of singles and albums lose money. Okay, since we've discussed a number of topics, before we proceed in the session, let's have a 1 minute break.